Thank you very much for your kind words, and I wish to thank all the organizers of this conference for having invited me. It's a great honor for me to be here. It's my first time in Japan. Well, so I'm supposed to speak about challenges to international comic studies in the context of globalization. The international dimension of comic scholarship is inevitably envisaged in a different way according to the region of the world where one lives. Accessibility to foreign production is indeed very unequal from one continent to another, and even from one country to another. In this respect, there is no doubt that the country where I live, France, is much favored. First of all, because on the European continent, it is France that has the most dynamic comics market. Therefore, France attracts numerous foreign authors who come to work there directly for French publishers, considering that they have reached some sort of comics Eldorado. Hugo Pratt years ago, the Chilean scriptwriter Alexandro Jodorowsky, the Argentinian artist José Muñoz, and his Italian colleague Lorenzo Mattotti are just a few examples of this attractivity. But what is more important is that comics created in North America or in Asia are translated quickly and massively, with some 265 different companies, whether small or big, involved in comics publishing in the French language. Every new talented artist emerging on the international scene inevitably finds a publisher interested in his work and willing to translate him. Of course, the market has not always been so widely open. The current situation is the result of a step-by-step process. Until the beginning of the 90s, the Asian production was almost completely unknown in our country, as in the rest of the Western world. In about 15 years, its importance has increased to the point that it has represented up to 40% of all new titles released. On the French market, Japanese mangas, but in a lesser proportion, Korean manhwas and Chinese manhwas, account today altogether for more than 1,400 titles a year. The English language comics account to approximately 300 titles, which means 8% of the total production. Other translations concern primarily European works, more especially from Italy, Spain, or the Netherlands. On the whole, more than one comic out of two that is published in France is a translation from a foreign comic. If you want more precise data, 1,856 titles have been translated in 2008 on a total of 3,592 novelties. All of us here know that neither the American market nor the Japanese market show a similar openness. And thus, for scholars who in these countries are willing to work on comics from an international point of view, the first problem they meet is the very narrow accessibility of foreign production in their own country and their own language. The situation that I have described as regards France leads furthermore to a second conclusion. It has become very problematic to study what contrasts the different national comics cultures when they have themselves become very heterogeneous. As a matter of fact, 20 years ago, it made sense to speak of the French culture of bande dessinée as something you could easily identify and describe, but it is not the case anymore. One can roughly say that there are 4 different types of comics that are now popular among French readers. primo series that perpetuate the tradition of classical French-Belgian heroes like Tintin, Asterix or Spirou. Secondo, graphic novels, characterized by a bigger number of pages, a smaller format, a literary ambition, and by their autonomy, which means that they do not belong to a series. Tertio, mangas that are read both in translation and by some fans in the original Japanese language. And quarto, American comics books, which also read either in French or in English. 4 different markets, 4 different audiences, quite distinct. Although we have no sociological study teaching us in which proportion these different readerships can coincide, and if manga readers are also interested in graphic novels, for instance. And finally, 4 comics cultures. These various cultures differ from each other on multiple levels. The segmentation of the readership from the point of view of gender. In France, American comic books are mainly read by male readers. Readers of the graphic novels seem to be a lot more feminine, whereas mangas, as you know, are divided between Kodomo, Shoujo, Shonen, Josei, Seinen, etc. A distinction that has no equivalent in Western comics or in the French-Belgian tradition. These 4 cultures differ also from the point of view of the sales points or networks. Mangas are mainly sold in specialized bookshops, graphic novels in more literary or non-specialized bookstores, and American comics books by news dealers. They differ from the point of view of what kind of goodies and byproducts are linked to these 4 types of comics. American comic books inspire Hollywood blockbusters, and shops are invaded by action figurines or trading cards. Mangas are accompanied by posters and art books. Popular heroes from French-Belgian comics are reproduced on dishes, clothes, agendas, and various products for the pupils. There is no merchandising of any kind generated by graphic novels. Finally, they differ from the point of view of the level of cultural legitimization. Graphic novels are very much praised by the critics and receive awards, whereas mangas and American comics are perceived as products from the entertaining industry and are sometimes criticized with the same arguments that used to bring discredit on comics as a whole a few decades ago, when the media was very much scorned by teachers and the intelligentsia. These different comics cultures that exist next to each other in the same country, in this case France, certainly are quite difficult to perceive by a foreign observer. He will tend to see the French market as relatively homogeneous, and he will favor the characteristic features on which he will be able to ground an opposition between this supposed French comics culture and his own.